No?
Is that good? Okay.
Hello, good morning to everybody. Thank you. Thanks ATypI for having us, first of all. We are very, very happy to be here. He is Kristyan Sarkis, he is Juan Blanco, I'm Meseguer. And what we want to show you here is how we embrace this typographic project that will facilitate the coexistence and dialogue between the three common writing systems in the Maghreb, Arabic, Latin, and Tifinagh.
First of all, when we talk about when we talk about the Maghrib, we're talking about this region. It's the northwest African region, also a bit more to the center. These are Arab countries, and the main official script there is the Arabic script. In particular, there's a specific style of Arabic writing there. We call it the Maghribi style. It is a very recognizable and highly peculiar style of writing. No, I need the light. But unfortunately, due to poor typographic traditions, this style has been largely unexplored or ignored, which led to the excessive usage of calligraphy or handwriting or fonts that do not really reflect this culture.
Hello, I'll start introducing you the Tifinagh script. First, I need to explain some terminology I will be using. So when I say Amazigh, I mean Berber, either Berber people, culture, or either the language. And Tamazigh is the actual name of this group of languages, and Tifinagh is the name of the script. So in green you see the areas where the Amazigh languages are spoken, and when you are more likely to find Tifinagh inscription. Although scattered nowadays, it has been reported to have been widespread in large areas of Egypt, Libya, Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, also Niger, Mali, and Mauritania. It is the Tamazigh language is official just in two of those countries, Morocco and Algeria, very recently. And stone is the main medium in which you will find the Tifinagh. In its earlier stages, it is also referred to as a living Berber script, and being the oldest ones, from the 6th century before Common Era. This is what the script looks like nowadays after the standardization process carried out by the IRCAM, the Royal Institute for the Amazigh Culture in Morocco. It comprises 33 basic characters plus 22 additions for dialectal variants. And I'd like to draw your attention to letter J, the second last at the bottom, because when we talk about the political dimension of a writing system, we may be not talking about using one of the letters of your alphabet as the central icon of your flag. I mean, if someone here didn't quite get it, it's like doing this. So, thank you. So these are examples of the Tifinagh script used along Arabic and Latin scripts. The order in which they appear is not incidental. Actually, it's quite significant that the Latin script is not used in some of the signs. Yeah, let's see the use of the Tifinagh in other domains. This is Tarazout. This is an Amazigh village in the south of Morocco. And these boats have Amazigh names, but they are written in Latin and in Arabic. So you may wonder why. So occupation, colonization, religion may be one of the answers. But yeah, it would take very long to explain this. So yeah, there are Amazigh texts written in Arabic and Latin, but you won't find manuscripts written in Tifinagh. And of course, if you find one, call me please. It's very difficult. So think about the huge leap between these inscriptions on stone and the first digital fonts. This one is called Tifinagh and Unicode. It was released in 2003 by the IRCAM. It keeps the geometric character of the original inscriptions, and it's the most used even in long text.
Here you can see how it is the panorama of use today. Every script uses a different typeface, and they are not even related in weight of style, depicting a clear-cut lack of harmonization. So what we did in our research project is the Andalus. This is the project that reflects the connection between the three scripts in a conceptual way. And this is one of the three projects that we developed in the third edition of the Typographic Matchmaking project. The Typographic Matchmaking is a project that was created by the Khatt Foundation, that was founded in 2004 in Amsterdam by Juan and Fares. The goal of this foundation is to promote cultural dialogue and help to develop indigenous design skills. In this edition, that we are participants, we made research and we developed three scripts for families that combine Arabic, Tifinagh, and Latin scripts harmoniously. This is the team. Here you see on the left, the first one is Jean de Brunt, who is the filmmaker of the project, but the curators are Huda Smithhausen and Fares, and Brahim Boucheikha. And the second team is the first team is the one composed by us, Juan, Kristyan, and me. The second group is the one composed by Naima Benayet and Redouane Cheton. And the third one is composed by André Valius, Salah Belisi, and Juan Luis again, because he was doing Tifinagh for two of the groups. I will show you briefly which were the other typefaces of the project. This project is called Tukal. This is the typeface, the family typeface developed by André Valius and Salah Belisi and Juan Luis. And it's a modern and functional typeface, modeled in the Maghribi style. And this is Elixir by Naima Benayet and Redouane Cheton. And it consists in an experimental typeface design, exploring the potential of shifting the expected stress between Arabic and Latin.
So let's talk a bit about the Maghribi style, but I'm going to give you a small background information that is crucial to our project. You might know that Arabic has a very long and rich tradition in calligraphy and writing. Which can get a bit overwhelming, to be honest, especially for type designers if you're looking for resources. The good news is that all these calligraphic styles can be grouped under two main categories. What you see on the right is the solid, what we call the solid constructions, solid styles, and what you see on the left is the fluid constructions. These these two categories, they differ mainly in structure and grammar of the script, but under the same category, these calligraphic styles become more of parametric variations. So, in that, the Maghribi style is quite unique and quite specific for falling somewhere in the middle. It did develop from the solid styles, but with time it gained much more fluidity. The Maghribi style came to the West-North Africa with the Islamic expansion, and it developed again from the Eastern solid styles, but then later on developed independently and gained a completely different character. The most important feature of the Maghribi style is the way the forms are mixed between solid and fluid, because they combine both. The thing is, because the Maghribi style is written with a thin pen and it basically has a low contrast, these differences are not so obvious. Until in the 19th century, when this guy came along, Al-Qandusi, he's a calligrapher who was born in Algeria and then moved to Morocco, where he died in 1862. Al-Qandusi, to my knowledge, is the only one that has used wider pens to write the Maghribi style. Yeah. Obviously, at first glance, if you look at his work, you will see that, or you might think it's uninhibited, it's unrestricted by norms, it's quite free, and for example, if you look at these three letters, they're supposed to be the same letter, but each one is drawn completely differently. In terms of contrast as well, the same letter on top of each other every time has a very different contrast. It might look inconsistent if you're not familiar with his work. He has things like such dramatic and elaborate fusions of letters. And he has this very specific feature of his work, which are the monolinear or linear inlines in some letters, especially in the vertical stems, which is something that we rarely, very, very rarely see in Arabic. If this was not enough to show the craziness of him, we can look at this kind of stuff. You can see already in this one even much more drastic differences in everything, in contrast, in proportions, in the sizes of the letters next to each other, and also in the unorthodox mixture between solid and fluid styles. If down to the last one, which is this black thing there, I mean, looking at this, I don't know if you can tell, but the only explanation I found so far is that he might have a split personality or something. It starts with something super extremely fluid, it ends up with something very rectilinear. So I was looking at these manuscripts really intensively a few months before the typographic matchmaking project came along, and I decided I had to do something about it. By the time we were in Marrakech for the first workshop, I shared these visuals and the sketches I had made with Laura and Juan Luis, and you can imagine they were, of course, immediately on board. And we set out to, in that workshop, to study and analyze Al-Qandusi's work. So we were able to extract many textures of his work, or many styles, but we chose three to focus on, and because we felt a sort of connection to. These are the three that you can see. They do have common features. Maybe you can't tell, but they do. But they also change drastically from one to the other. So based on these three textures, we decided to design a family of three typefaces that not only change in weight, but they change also with the tool application. They change with the contrast, they change proportions, and they also go gradually from being more written to more drawn.
In the case of the Latin, this image shows you how was the first start. I mean, the idea of trying to look to the Qandusi's manuscripts and try to extract how Qandusi could do a Latin typeface could be the starting point. But at the same time, it's difficult for me. I mean, it was my first experience in the dealing with Arabic letters, and it was an amazing challenge for me to start from something. So starting from something for just this idea of, because of the concept that he was doing things that were going from writing to drawing. So this was my first stage, like how to try to solve this in a very, very tiny, simple sketch from writing to drawing.
Yeah, that last line at the bottom is me trying to apply, well, it's the letter just anyway. Trying to apply this calligraphic feel of the Maghribi style and feeling completely lost. I mean, it was really difficult. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Well, basically in what follows, we're going to show you briefly, because we don't have the time, how the same idea that we communicated was disseminated into three different unrelated scripts to eventually harmonize them. So, the Arabic first. Basically, I just said that if at first glance the work of Al-Qandusi seems completely uncontrolled and very free and so on. But if you look and analyze it deeply, he follows a very clear reasoning. Of course, the forms sometimes get out of control, but the reasoning is always there. I'm going to briefly show you the three different styles in terms of textures. This is the, let's say, the regular one. It has a texture that is relatively uniform. It is already thicker than any kind of Maghribi that we know, but the variations of contrast are still relatively not very drastic. It already also has mixture between fluid and solid forms. If you look at these two lines, this is the clear reading line, which we call the baseline, and then the parallel lines on top, they are equal in thickness, and this changes a lot with the other styles. So this is a bit how it was applied in the font. Obviously, there was this is not a revival in any way. This is a reimagination of the work of Al-Qandusi. And yeah, and you already also see the mixture between the solid forms and the fluid forms. By the way, Al-Qandusi also mixes solid and fluid within one letter, which is another level of complication. This is already showing a bit the contrast, how even within this style it changes a lot. You can see parts that should be the same color, like the red and the magenta, for example, and they are different. That is because of the different construction as well. The medium already, probably the medium is the craziest one because it has the most drastic variations in contrast. And you see that again between the difference between the main line and the line that is above it. Yeah. So like here, you can also see it applied in Arabic, and even that parallel line, it varies in thicknesses. This style is very elaborate and very flamboyant because it's thicker already, but not too thick, so it has a lot of space to play around. And it has drastic mixtures between fluid and solid as well, a different one than the regular. Yeah. Here you can see the contrast, how drastic it can be different. There's already a lot more drawing in this one than writing. The last one is the darkest one, obviously. It is the inline in this style. By the way, I forgot to say that here we already introduced the inline in the medium one. In the black one, the inline becomes a very strong feature of this style. It applies anywhere it could be applied. It is for sure much more drawn than it is written, and it's because there's less space for this style to be elaborate. It also becomes a bit more contained, and of course, it's yet another mixture of solid forms with fluid forms. Again, here you see how it was applied in the Arabic part.
Okay, Latin. Well, say that, you can imagine how complex it could be to translate these things into the Latin form. So we did two workshops, main workshops. One was in Marrakech, it was the start of the concept, and the second workshop was in Spain. We went to Andalus and Córdoba in the south of Spain. And there I really could feel the idea of how the influence of the Arabic world it's already alive. It's still alive in the forms that we can see in the streets of Andalusia. These images you can see on the left. This is the number one. This is how we still see in Andalusia the numbers of the houses in the streets. The second is one clear example of this influence of this Arabesque style, no? Trying to look Arabic too much there in a very vernacular way. The third is an image of Córdoba and Granada. That is one of the main sites that you can visit there. And we had an amazing visit there with people that could read Alhambra. It was my third time in Alhambra, and it was the first time I could understand what the words of Alhambra say. It was an amazing experience. If you can go to Alhambra, ask someone to read Alhambra for you, because it's really something incredible. And the last one is one of the names of the streets of Córdoba that also shows this kind of a fantasy and all these influences from different sides. So for me, this trait was very important because till then I was still also a bit sketching a lot. But when we met in Andalusia, this idea of also matching the Spanish style and the Andalusian style, putting this idea of Al-Andalus, putting some flavor on it, and this is clear influence in my part of the project. So here you see the colors. Okay. Here you see how it was the development of the early states of the Latin. So the idea is, okay, how it's possible to match this idea of solid, fluid, half solid, half fluid, how this can match in an Arabic alphabet. No? So the idea was to create, I started with a regular weight, because it was the most related to the calligraphy, to start somewhere. And I decided to work on this regular weight as a humanistic low contrast serif typeface, but with some rotation related into the Arabic calligraphy. And well, something that is also in the project from the beginning is not a text typeface, it's most a display type in every script. So this is something that was also important from the beginning. And basically, the regular is based on these principles, no? How to relate to the Arabic calligraphy, how fluid, how solid it should be. And this is why it's built as a semi-cursive, kind of a right italic, with some reminiscence of the calligraphic ductus in the serifs, that is not like a double serif. And also in the case of the reverse horizontal stress, as you saw here in the middle line, you see that it was a moment of the process that the letters were really looking like a reverse contrast, and this is it's based on the exploration of the shapes. But we thought that it was too prominent; it would look like a reverse contrast typeface, and the idea was not that. It was based on rotation and not this idea. So then I decided to look into models that of printing types that were based on writing but using rotation to try to see too much how this could be done. No? So for the regular, I look into the managed calligraphic samples, where the contrast of the stroke is the result of not only changing the direction of the stroke, but also the orientation. And in the case of the medium, because it was, as you could see in the manuscripts, it's the one that has really this craziness of a lot of, it's looking for expressivity. So expressivity is something very important in this weight. In this case, I look to ancient examples of Gothic and ornamental types to try to get inspiration from innovative solutions based on calligraphy, with some drawing, and also I look at these examples, for instance, of woodcock and wolf letters, more try to get inspiration for the ornamental side of the project. Here you can see a detail of the medium. And what you can see also how this is a semi-cursive construction related to the regular weight. And finally, for the dark, I look into civility types designed by Robert Jean as a French response for Italian italic. And it's also based in a cursive Gothic scripts. And all together, I found like responses, no? Like in terms of aesthetics. So I found like I could get these ideas from there and try to match it in my letters. This is, you can see the dark, and there's something related also to the concept that explained Kristyan. Because it's more based on drawing than in writing, it also needs to be somehow matching more in terms of spacing and how to deal with the lack of space that is inherent. In the Arabic, you can see these inlines, but it's something that I couldn't apply to the Latin, because these inlines could make letters to be really condensed. So for me, it was more about the emphasis of the Italic construction and also the construction of the series, where the lack of space determines really the length of them. And here you can see how it's the texture of the three weights together, and that is also one of the main goals of the harmonization of the three scripts, no? How the textures get the same color.
Okay, in the case of the well, unlike these guys, I didn't have any manuscript to look at. Moreover, there are no convention, no rules to follow or to break, which is good and it's bad at the same time. So I decided to keep faithful to the idea of this solid construction, solid geometric nature of the descriptions. But yeah, the continuous dialogue with the other two scripts led me to redefine the proportions, to explore the horizontal stress, and to apply a certain degree of softness to the shapes. So this is the final design of the regular. It is solid in construction and quite predictable in contrast. It is based on the uppercase Latin because it's the closest. And well, its glyphic origin is quite clear. And as I said before, the shapes are softened following this mixture of geometry and organic shapes of Al-Kandusi. So here's when things started to become more challenging. So it is still graphic, and the contrast is increased drastically, but not always in a consistent way. The stress axis is horizontal, and details are quite saturated. So this gives way to a lot of problems and also solutions. So finally, the dark weight is almost monolinear, but the glyphic feel is still there, but not as present as before. And I did use this linear contrast because I thought it was really expressive and very suitable for these letters. They produce extremely dark and unusual letter forms, as you can see at the bottom. Okay, and this is how they work together.
Here you can just very fast. You see how when once we were happy to get on with the paths that every script had, then we focus more. I mean, they were all the time related, so we were showing the process of time. But once we decided, okay, this is the way, we are trying to focus more in the aesthetic details that bring us together through the terminals and the linear, the contrast and the linear. Oh, sorry, I did too fast. This is the rotation of the contrast, how it's shown in the different scripts, and also the linear contrast. And then Kandus came as a type system.
Let's go back one. Okay. Well, recreating or reimagining all these textures of Al-Kandusi clearly require a lot of extra characters, a lot of extra alternates and features and so on, which can get out of hand at some point, especially with the current setting of the type in the softwares. So we also, because there's, even if Al-Kandusi is someone who is quite famous as a calligrapher, there's very little resources of his work. So I could not find all the resources for the letters, and at some point I was always finding myself thinking, what would Al-Kandusi do here? How he would interpret this shape or this shape? So and we said, instead of doing what we are doing for the typographic matchmaking, which is the 3 styles, why don't we do 9 that can become larger than exploring the work of Al-Kandusi, but becomes more about mapping the whole development of Maghribi from the most solid to the most fluid. So other than what you see in the middle, which is the original Kandus, there will be, it's very much under in work in progress now, it will become a type system of 9 different styles, where you have the most fluid one, the most solid one, and the one in the middle. This is how they differ. This would be the original one on top, of the dark, of course. The one next to it is the same word, same sentence, but completely different construction. And the one on the last line is the most solid. It's work in progress, so it's not fun.
In the case of the Latin, the system responds to responds to solid. That's a Roman construction. So this idea of a semi-italic is lost. It's more contrasted, less calligraphic, and it's shown in this. We have the double serifs and the addition of the drops, the double letters, or something more constructed. And in the case of the fluid, it becomes a full italic, but still a right. And also, sorry. And here you can see it's instructions. It was so fast now. The expansion of the system, it will be something like this. The idea is also in the same way as the Arabic is working. The idea is to explore also alternates for the Latin. So this Andalusian flavor I was talking before, it will be more noticeable in this alternate. So the idea of the carved stuff and how to deal with that is also related to some book types that we also have there. So there's a lot of things on that version.
So there is a great deal of complexity going on here. There are 3 styles, 2 conceptual axes, and 9 styles. I mean, so you may think at this point that my brain went off. Well, actually, paradoxically, this point is when everything became clear to me, because the lack of manuscripts and the need to a fluid model for this fluid version led me to think of a different medium other than the descriptions, and I found it in the Tuareg tradition of teaching the writing on sand. So I had the two extremes already. One is more organic and written style, and the other extreme, different enough to make a nice mixture, was this sort of ideal engraved letter forms. And this is the whole system. On the right hand side you see the shapes that came about after the exploring the writing on sand. And on the left hand side yeah, the carved letters.
And just finish few examples of how they work together. Here you see the Arabic. Here is the Latin. Tifinagh. The three scripts together in the regular weight. The three scripts together in the medium weight. And the dark.
Finally, our idea for this project was that matchmaking in type does not need to be a purely visual exercise. If we personify these three scripts, what we try to do is to bring three different people from different cultures and give them a certain specified topic and let them discuss it, and we hear their opinions and we take it into consideration, as opposed to just dressing them up with the same dress and tell them, okay, just talk to each other. Thank you.